love letting that run for a quick second. Well, welcome everybody to DPF On Tap, season 2, episode 18. This is a fireside chat with Sparky, Lyle.
I'm just happy to be anywhere, you know.
Well, we appreciate it, definitely. Thank you. AL Cy Young Award winner, 3-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champion, 2-time AL saves leader, and former Philly.
That's correct.
Sparky, Lyle.
I did all my, Red Sox, Yankees, Phillies, all on the East Coast, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right down the East Coast.
It was fun.
You moved south. That was
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice job. Got warmer. Hey, everybody, just remember DPF is brought to you by Pensive Technology, DPF On Tap. For all your networking, internet, and home automation needs, visit pensivetechnology.com today. And so Chris and I are super excited today to be here with Sparky. If you hear comments from the green room, his son / manager is in our Philly Yards, Philly Standard green room. So you might hear him chime in too.
I will say it's one of the nicer green rooms I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
you like that? Yeah. I made that table myself.
Oh, it's good.
So we're gonna get right in, and just kind of have a chat with you.
Yeah,
The fire's going in the background.
I know. It is a little hot.
It
on
is.
my
All right,
neck,
let me turn that down a little.
All right.
So, Chris, I think you're gonna. kick us
Yeah,
off.
so Sparky, I was a big fan of your book.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's one of the things that you kind of talked about a lot in it to me was team chemistry. So I'm just kind of curious how the 77 and 78 Yankees maybe compared or were different than the 80 Phillies. You know, your world champion years. What kind of how did you?
It was just a completely different atmosphere. I mean, there was electricity in the air all the time. I mean, I was probably the first or the second one in the clubhouse every day, and that was back when we were playing 8:00 games. And there was just always something going on in there. You know, we had such a mix of guys that a lot of times didn't like each other, and a lot of times we did. I know there was numerous times when we had a fight in the clubhouse or something, and the only reason it stopped is because, hey, they're getting ready to play the national anthem. We got to get out there. or Billy not showing up because he got drunk the night before, and we had to fill out the lineup card. We were down 1-0. He was all pissed off about that. So. I really, it wouldn't be fair even to compare those two, but I will say this is that, I was very fortunate for the the first three teams that I played for, that was, each one was so different. Now, the Yankee clubhouse was so noisy, you couldn't even think in there sometimes. And when I got traded to the Phillies, it was so quiet, I thought I was at a funeral. And everybody, especially right before the game, it was very quiet because they had all their things that they did. I think a lot of people forget that Gus Hoffling was there.
Yeah.
And that guy was a monster, I got to tell you. I loved that guy. Mm-hmm. And you want to get something done, talk to Gus for 15 minutes. That's all you got to do. And
did you ever do the hand in the rice thing?
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to tell you. When I first got there, they're explaining to me what the routine is for pitchers. You do X amount of sprints, and then you do that. And I said, well, I don't run unless I don't pitch. Well, that's going to change. Or you can not run and do Carlton's workout. Now, I'd heard about the workout, but I never did. ICC Carlton I knew Steve Carlton from before. And so I said, well, I'll do the workout. Oh my God. I ran that day.
Yeah.
And as far as putting your hands in that rice, and unless you try that, you'll never believe, but you could actually break your fingers trying to do that.
Wow.
Oh my goodness, it's something. And then I saw him. Gus would take this bamboo pole, I'd say not quite from here to my son, and blindfold Carlton, try and hit him with this thing, and Carlton would knock it out of the way. So Gus, and I kind of got in trouble with Gus the first 2-3 days I was there, mainly because I didn't know what was going on, but we became friends. I kept seeing everybody going in the back room back there. Back, there was a room back by the cages. And so I said, I'll take a walk back there. And picture of the ocean and waves, a chair there, and did everything. So Gus says, are you here for the room? I said, yeah. He said, okay, you're second. I said, okay. So I left and come back. So make a long story short, when I got in there, Gus says, nice to meet you. Welcome me there and everything. And he says, so what tape would you like? And I said, a little Willie Nelson, He said, what are you, a funny guy? Here, they were, what the hell do you call them now? I forgot. They were amping them up. These tapes would get you up,
Gotcha.
ready to go for the game.
Okay.
But I still stuck with Willie Nelson.
So Gus Heffling, I played at St. Joe's for a year, and our coach there had done all of his workouts.
Oh, he did.
I didn't know what a star push-up was, but I know I couldn't move my arms after the first workout.
Hey, all those workouts that he did with Carlton, and not that I ever thought it was a joke anyhow, because when you meet Steve Carlton, I mean, number one, the guy's huge, and he's just every bit of what you would expect him to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of that him and Gus were very, very close. But now the story that I heard was that Gus first was with the Eagles to show the linemen pressure points to hit on other linemen so they go down.
Huh.
Now, I don't know how true
I don't
that
know
is.
if that-
But if anybody could show him that,
Sounds reasonable.
it'd be Gus Hoffling. Because he did actually live with the monks and all that stuff in Tibet. I mean, yeah.
Going back to the book, like when you were in the midst of doing this, were you worried about what Steinbrenner was going to think, or did you want to piss him off a little bit?
No, I didn't really want to piss him off. He was mad at me all the time anyway. but I wasn't worried about the book because I knew that it wasn't going to be a ball four book.
Mm-hmm.
And they had been after me for a while to do this, but I never wanted to do it because I couldn't, they wouldn't let me edit the book at the end, let the editors do what they're doing, but then I want to see what the hell is in it. And so Crown Publishing said yes. So that's really how I did that. But I knew I did my best not to hurt anybody in that book. And you've read it, and I didn't.
Yeah.
And that was my objective too. Because with Goose and everything going on, and I had enough to talk about.
Yeah.
But it was I went on a baseball trip or something, and I can remember being in St. Martin's and walking on the beach, and I could hear this guy laughing, but I didn't think too much about it. I just thought he was having, but he was actually reading the Bronx Zoo. And I wanted to ask him, Where are you in that?
Yeah.
Because there's 2 or 3 stories in there that I thought was really funny, but I just left them alone. I left.
What part do you want? Hey, could we switch gears?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
interested in your like pitching philosophy, right? So, what we've read and heard is like you think that pitchers should throw almost daily to improve their effectiveness. So, what we're wondering is you're still helping out at the AA level, and can you convey that philosophy today, or is it totally different?
Totally different. I'm still trying to find out where the pitch count is coming from, and I mean, when I was managing, I had a guy that had a couple years in the big leagues, and they weren't good years. That's why he was in the Atlantic League. But anyhow, he started, and at the end of the 3rd inning, he comes in, he says, what's my pitch count? And I said, 80. I'm done. He just went in the club and took himself out of the game.
Huh?
I said, you got to be kidding me.
It doesn't compute.
No. But see, in answer to that question, it was when I went to spring training, and I was always late, number one, because I didn't need 6 weeks. And they would tell the young pitchers and stuff, see that guy over there? Stay away. Because I would go down there, like I say, I'd be late. Let's see, the pitchers report, February 15th or something, I'd get there March 10th.
Okay.
And I'd grab a catcher and go out there, and I hadn't touched the ball since the season was over until that day. And I went out there and I'd throw as hard as I could, as long as I could, until I got that pain in my side. And then I'd limp in the clubhouse, and I couldn't throw a ball for 3 days. And I was pretty much good to go. The strength wasn't there for the slider yet, but I wasn't going to have any arm problems. And I wasn't, my arm never did get sore, like for how your arm gets sore after pitching.
Sure.
You can't say it's hurt or anything, but it's pretty sore.
Yeah.
Well, I've never had that in my whole life. And I don't know, I can't answer
Genetic.
why. But I had to pitch a lot because I was a 1-pitch pitcher. I'm throwing that slider. Once I build up enough strength, my ERA in spring training, I would say, has got to be at least 5, because I didn't throw any sliders there. Because there wasn't any sense in working on that. I just throw fastballs, and then the last couple outings I had, I'd break some off. But I kind of just did what I knew worked for me. That's the only answer to that question. That's why I helped Gidry with the slider and stuff like that, but I don't know what would happen if I would tell a young kid that don't touch a ball all winter, just come out and throw the hell out of it. Go for it.
Probably not good.
Yeah.
You touched on ball 4, and Jim got a huge backlash from what I understand from the players. Did you feel or worry about any of that when you did it?
No, not at all. Not at all. I knew George was mad about it because George thought that there was something in there.
Mm-hmm.
There was.
Right.
And we eventually, talked about it, and everything was fine. But that was all because he thought there was going to be something in it. But what Bowden did, now this is what I hear because I wasn't involved in that. I wasn't with the Yankees at that point in time and all that. But he put a lot of stuff in there that a first-year player could put in just by being around.
Yeah.
And I thought that was pretty bad. And when we'd have Old Timers Day and things like that, I would say from my viewpoint, they still didn't like him very much. Now, I don't know what happened as time went on because I haven't been to an Old Timers game since the 40th anniversary of the 77 team. So, I quit going.
Okay. Yeah.
So after winning the Cy Young in '77, you had 72 appearances, right? You had a limited role the next year, right? Maybe,
Oh, it was limited.
maybe even because of salary concerns, right? So if you were paid what you're worth, do you think you would have been a Yankee a longer time?
No, I don't. Mainly because I just felt that when they got Goose after the '77 World Series, and I even said to them, I said, hey, I would have went out and got Goose. I mean, how often does a guy like that come along?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe every day now, but back then it was, you had to bring that guy in. And the only thing that I thought that they should do was they should have traded me first once they knew they were going to do that. I was driving cross country. I was in Arizona. I had bought a van, and I decided to drive back, and we're having a good time in that. Well, Sparky, Lyle was,
Listen to Willie Nelson.
Oh, of course. and it come over the radio, over the news. So that's how I found it. And I just went, son of a gun, man. I said, but I didn't, I just said to my wife at that point in time, I says, I'm not going to pitch. And Goose and I were friends before that. And when we got to spring training, and we got together and well, what are we going to do? I says, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. I says, I got to fight for myself because I got to fight to get out of here to sustain my career. And I said, the one thing I don't want, I'm never going to say anything bad about you, and I don't want you saying anything bad about me. We're friends, and we're going to be friends. And you're going to do the pitching. And hopefully when I get the chance to pick you up, I'll do it. Because I was worried about that because I knew I wasn't going to pitch, and I knew that slider is not good when I didn't pitch a lot. And but we got through that year really pretty good without any animosity. The only time that I think a lot of people came at me was when up in Boston when we had that playoff and brought Goose in to face Yaz, and we were both warming up, and I look him right in the eye and I says, "Well, who in the hell would you have brought in?" Jesus Christ, Goose is throwing 97 miles an hour out there. I got my 88 mile an hour burner. So I didn't, but I think just the fact that I had to answer that question so many times that, and I answer the same way every time. I said, hey, I would have brought him in. Right. I faced Yaz. It wasn't like Yaz hit me or anything like that, but, I think that the first pitch that Yaz threw that day, I knew Yaz couldn't catch up to that ball. Because Yaz was a little long on the tooth, too.
Yeah.
I wasn't, but he was.
I want to talk about the Phillies a little bit, and specifically the '81 team. Take you back to there. So Phillies just came off the World Series, and their first half gangbusters, top of the first place, and then the strike happened, and then the Phillies did not do well in the second half. What do you think that? What did you were there?
We sat around over cocktails. We sat around over orange juice. Whatever, however you want to look at it, and it was like having COVID. You can't go outside, and that's the way I can compare that to that now, because you really couldn't see anything that there was to fix. It's guys having bad years, guys making bad pitches. We just couldn't get a hit when we needed a hit. It was just, I can't explain it.
Well, the Expos were a great team too.
Of course,
so
the
Expos were very, very good.
Hey, when we won our first one in '77 with the Yankees, that year that's all we thought about during the winter because Cincinnati just embarrassed us the year before, and that was our MO. We got to get back to the World Series because we need to play Cincinnati one more time. If they beat us again, then okay. But
Yeah.
we were that was our MO, and then Cincinnati ended up not getting there. And then after beating the Dodgers and coming back on the plane, we were down after 77, and we ended up 14 and a half games out. Lou Piniella gets up in the airplane coming back from California and saying, listen, they played the best that they could play. Do you think we did that? No, we didn't. So that's what we got to do. And there was never any panic. I think in Philadelphia, you got to the point to where you really didn't want to talk about it because there was too damn much talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, you could never get it out of your head. You just couldn't.
Well, the 77 Philly, you know, because the Dodgers beat the Phillies in the NLCS, but my dad would constantly talk about, you know, that Black Friday game where Lazinski was always taken out. Jerry Martin's always put in the ninth inning, and he doesn't. And the ball doesn't catch the ball. And Manny Moden, Davey Lopes. Oh.
Hey, you can, you know, we all saw it happen the opposite way. You should have taken Bill Buckner out of that game, but you didn't. And that poor bastard has had to put up with that. They might even put that on his tombstone.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A big hole in the middle of the freaking.
Yeah.
5-hole. Kind of sticking with the Phils, Spark. It's rumored you were almost traded for Tug McGraw, Bake McBride, and Larry Christensen in 1979. Is that true, and were you aware of it?
I was not aware of it, and that would have been probably one of the most lopsided trades that anybody would ever want to make.
Philly's favorite, right?
No. I kind of knew I was going to be a Philly towards the end of spring training, but I knew that I wasn't going to get there until late August when I wasn't eligible for the playoffs and stuff. Okay. And so I knew that going along in Texas, and because it was, I just said to myself, I said, how in the hell can this happen 2 times in a row, where at first it was Goose, and then when I went to Texas,
Jim Kern.
And then they got Jim Kern, who threw 97 miles an hour, and I wasn't going to pitch again, but I did help him save 30 games that year. I really did. I sit there and be in his ear all, because he was
Got it.
he was warming up one night, and Corrales told, yeah, I give him this. He's throwing, and the catcher's throwing the ball back. He's throwing this one, and I'm protecting him. Next thing I know, he's out cold laying beside me. Yeah, he's throwing the ball, and the crowd reacted. So he turned around to see what it was, and when he turned around, the catcher already threw the ball back at him, hit him right in the fucking mouth. I'm going, Jim,
Get up.
should I warm up?
That's a great point, because back then the bullpens were on the side of the third and first base line.
Yeah. Well, I got in trouble down there too because
That's weird. You got in trouble.
they didn't draw at all, and one of the writers down there and says, "Well, what do you think about the fans here?" I said, "Well, the fans are, they're good, what there is of them." And he says, "Yeah, you're used to having, thousands of people." And I says, "Is there a rodeo every night or something? Is that why they don't come?" Oh boy. My God.
Yeah,
that was
Not good.
So it's tough not to talk to you and ask about the mustache, right? So I did some research, and it seems in 1974 you grew it, and you had your lowest ERA, which was 1.66 in that year. Many players have superstitions. Were you going to keep that because of that? Was it part of your superstitions?
No, I don't have any superstitions. I just had that nasty slider and made sure I was going to throw the damn thing. But the whole thing behind the mustache was when I met my wife and we were dating and blah, 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 all that. And she really didn't know anything about baseball and so on. And but I would make remarks about, I just had a big nose, and she'd say, what are you going to guide the sleigh for Santa Claus? All those things. And we joke around about it. And then she says, I think if you grew a mustache, your nose wouldn't look as big.
Okay.
There you go.
How's it look?
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Both are beautiful.
Maybe Scott should go.
As boring as that story is,
Okay.
that's really
Yeah.
where I came from.
It's rumored that Ted Williams kind of saw your curveball and said, you know what, you should throw a slider. And why? Because I have trouble hitting a slider.
That changed my whole life.
How awesome is Ted Williams?
Well, let me tell you. I mean, I was in awe just being there, because back then when they drafted me from the Orioles, I had to go to spring training with the big club. I don't know what they call that, Rule 25. I don't know what it is, but I had to go there for 2 weeks, whatever it was. Yeah, I had to be there for a certain amount of time. And there's Ted Williams hitting balls to the outfielders and laughing like hell. He says, okay, Yaz is going to miss this one by about a foot. And he hit that ball, and you're like, oh! I mean, that's how good this is, something like that. So I guess that because of my youth and everything, and I had really not much experience, I just played rookie ball, and then they did move me up to the Midwest League that year, my first year, but they didn't really want me to pitch against any big leaguers and stuff. So they had me throw against whatever D1 Florida State team is down there. I couldn't even tell you who they were, but I struck out 12 in 5 innings. And I was feeling pretty good about myself, I wouldn't even think about Ted Williams. Of course, probably at that time I thought I'd get Ted out too. But so I do my run, and I'm sitting in my locker, and he was had a very loud voice. Where's that left pitch today? Oh my God, right here. Get dressed. We're going back outside. Yes, sir. Put my stuff back on, go out. And he says, that curveball you throw, he says, you throw with your thumb up in the air, don't you? Yeah. Now, if it wasn't Ted Williams, I'd have said, so what? They can't hit the freaking thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But I said, yes, sir. So he says, come on, I'm going to show you how to throw that same curveball, but 12-6. I'm throwing 6-7 pitches. I started getting that. And as we're doing that, he said, you know what the best pitch in baseball is? And I said, yep, slider. Or a changeup. He says, no, slider. It's the only pitch I couldn't hit when I knew it was coming. And he had a book out that year. And he wrote in this book, I still have it, get that slider, I'll see you in the big leagues.
Oh, man.
And I used to lay in bed with that ball going, what the hell do I got to throw this thing to make it do what he said?
Mm-hmm.
And about halfway through, I was in AA that year in Pittsfield, Mass. And I was living in a garage. Seriously.
I know Pittsfield.
And there was a street light out there. And I said, holy hell, I got to try this out right now. And I went out there. I'm throwing it against the side of this garage. And it's just going, whoa. I threw about 10. Every one of them just, I went back and I slept like a baby. Then I went out there the next day, and warming up to go in a game. And Bob Montgomery was the catcher, and I said, slider. And he says, you don't have a slider. I said, 24 hours ago I did.
Today I do.
And when I threw it, I hit him right in the foot. He didn't get leather on it. And I knew I had something. I didn't know what it was, but.
So it's funny because we were wondering who taught it to you. So technically that session with Ted Williams, and then you figured it out.
Well, I figured it out because he told me what it did.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me about the dot in the ball. I think that's what took me so long to learn how to throw it, because the dot on my slider wasn't here. It was like here. That's what made it. And it just exploded on hitters. You know how they you see that fastball, it looks like it hops?
Yeah.
Well, that's what that slider was doing. It was just boom.
Yeah.
When it went down, it like picked up speed. Something.
Right.
They kept missing it.
The second half of that is, were you able to ever pass that on to anyone else through your coaching?
Yeah, Kidbury, I showed it to him. He showed it to, oh man, Kidbury showed it to who's the left-hander in the trade?
Al Leader.
Rigetti.
No,
Dave Rigetti.
he showed it to Dave Rigetti, and Rigetti showed it to
Al Leader.
Leiter.
Yeah.
It was Gidbury picked that up in a matter of 5 days, and he went 25-3. And you could see the look on the hit, because Gidbury threw 95 too, and you could see that at the 0-2 pitch or 1-2, whatever it was, and he threw that slider, the hitter their eyes just went blank because they knew they were never going to hit that thing.
So 77, you won the Cy, and then Gidbury wins it in 78 with your slider.
Yeah, I know. Well, his was harder.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us and the folks about the fine that Dick Williams tried to institute for you shaking pitches, and what your system was for with your catching? No.
Well, when the Red Sox brought me to the big leagues, Dick Williams called me in, and I loved that guy because one of the few managers that was ever honest with a ball player. And he says, "You got 2 weeks. Show us what you got, and if it doesn't work out, then we'll send you back to AAA and probably make it do something else." Because Dennis Bennett got hurt in a car accident. So I'm there 3 days. I didn't even get up to warm up. I was like, holy hell, I don't have much time left now here. But we traded for Elson Howard. So Elson's out there. I'm in a game, and I'm facing Norm Cash. And he's giving me one, and I'm going, no, 2, no, change up, no, slider, yeah.
That one.
And when I end up striking Norm Cash out for the last out, and I went in. He comes over. I'm going to fine you $50 for every time you shake your head. This guy's got 20 years in the big leagues. You don't even have 2 weeks in yet. You're shaking him up.
Yeah, don't shut Elson Howard off.
And so Elson heard all this, and he comes over and he says, "Okay," he said, "here's what we're going to do." He said, "If I give you, something you don't like, just don't move, and I'll move on to the next one." I said, "How about just don't give me anything? I'm just going to throw sliders at you all day."
that was the strategy. I love it. That's awesome.
And when I got traded to the Yankees, and I told Thurman the same thing, he just sit back there and go.
That's fantastic.
And I get the biggest kick out of these guys now. They must have clinics on how to hide the ball. You see all the shit that they go through.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even have to tell them what I was throwing. They knew what I was throwing.
Right. Yeah.
It's where you throw it.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because There's another one of our 4 here on this podcast that's on vacation, so he's off. But the rest of us are kind of old school, right? And so with Major League Baseball's kind of focus on offense and hitting homers and launch angle and all that now, what do you think you would have changed in your approach from back when you played to today if you had to pitch?
Wouldn't change anything.
We thought you were exactly. We thought no.
Hey, I threw that slider on the right-hander's back knee. That's where I wanted it, right there, because they'd have to get that out of the way if they were gonna, and I moved it around a lot. I mean, I would usually I'd start it from the middle end, and that would be on their back knee, and they hit bullets at Nettles, and Nettles would dive and catch it and throw them out at first.
That's it.
That's what we did. And it was just, I think that the day I retired, I was in Chicago, and I come in, I get out of a jam, and I was going back out. That would have been my 100th win, by the way. People asked me, how'd you end up with 99 wins? I said, as far as I'm concerned, I had it. But LaRussa took me out of the game and put Salome Brojas in. First pitch.
Still hasn't landed.
Yeah. And but I asked the catcher in another game, kid pinch hits. He hits this ball, and this was a good slot. I mean, I threw it right where I wanted. He hits this ball out of the stadium foul. Oh, holy hell. And I said, let me ask you something. Is my slider all one speed, or is it exploding, still exploding? He says, oh, no, it's all one speed. I knew I was done. I retired. And five days after that,
okay,
I walked out. I said, don't trade me because I'm not going to be here. And I left because I knew it was over.
You knew it was time.
Oh, the way that kid hit that ball and where that thing was, he wouldn't even touch that ball.
What year was that?
82. I try not to talk about that, please.
So we were pretty close to bringing you a gift today, and it's a birthday cake. We decided not to because
Thank you, because I am in therapy. After all these years, I am in therapy.
One of my, I collect baseball cards, and one of my favorites is yours in 1974, where it had the line that says "Sparky enjoys birthday cakes." I thought that was one of the best things.
Well, I believe it. I just I'm probably known more for sitting in cakes than I am for Cy Young or anything else. I mean, when I go around up in the suites, and the dads, that did see me pitch or something, they got their 5, 6, 7-year-old kid there. I says, he used to sit in the cakes.
That's what they tell them.
Yeah, they tell them. Well, because it's their birthday. Then I come in there and they'll go, oh my God, he's here. No, I'm in therapy. Don't worry.
It's
But I will tell you, since he's sitting here, I sat when he was first born. My mother-in-law, I picked him up and sat his ass right in the cake.
Nice.
so
At the dinner table. And she was a church-going woman.
Oh boy. Carrying on the tradition.
Well, there's an art to it, right? You're just not sitting.
Well, you got to get that little,
yeah.
Mountain.
Yeah, you got the crack in there, and just sticking with the pranks. The casket story made me roar in the book.
The casket story was that we were playing in Shea State.
Okay.
Bill Burden was the manager, and Fred Stanley had bought a van. And he was trying to find out where he could find the casket because he wanted to make a bar out of it to put in his van. And so we come in there one day, and here's this freaking casket there. Whoever he talked to during the night
Made it happen.
It showed up. And the thing was that, you know, when managers have meetings and stuff, they always stand in the same place. Well, this happened to be right behind where Verdon would be standing because we'd be going over all the hitters because it was a new team. I put all this lamp black all over my face. I get down in that fucking casket. We were playing the Orioles, and he's up there, and he wanted to get his guns out there, you know, and shit. Having a meeting, and I don't know, he's talking about 30 seconds, and I open the lid, and I go, "How do you pitch to Brooks Road?" Back down, in I went. Oh my god!
The other one that made me laugh out loud was the taking the mattress, or I guess it was a waterbed, and it was you or put it up on the scoreboard in Milwaukee. Is this true?
No.
Okay, so it wasn't.
That may have been Fritz.
Okay.
It wasn't. It definitely wasn't me. No, I saw it flapping in there.
That's what they said. It's windy.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was torn to shreds. Torn to shreds.
Oh my goodness.
No, I think that was Fritz. He did stuff that I only wished I could do. That guy. You know who I'm talking
Yeah,
about, right?
yeah.
Oh my god. He got me. He had the cops take me handcuffed one day. I come back. I'd always go for a walk. Especially like in Minnesota, there wasn't anything to do there, so you walk around for a little bit. And I'm coming back, and everybody on the team always knew that I was always going to the ballpark early, and so Fritz says, "You going to the ballpark early today?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "I'm going to check my messages. I got to rent a car." Okay. I get in the rent a car. Now he goes and tells this guy's out there trying to steal your car. Next thing I know, the freaking
Cops are there.
the guy from the hotel. Get out of that car! Get out! He's sitting there laughing.
Gotcha. So we're pretty sure you're the first closer ever with an entrance song, Pomp and Circumstance. Why that song, and what would you choose today?
Well, I probably wouldn't have one, but my favorite song back then was "The House of the Rising Sun," and but I didn't know anything about that song. I'm sure you know that, right?
Yeah.
It was Marty Appel, who was our marketing guy. And I mean, I would ride in that Datsun and throw my jacket and get out on the mound. I mean, I never even knew they were playing anything until I saw it in the paper. Somebody said, "What about your song?" I said, "My song? What? I don't know anything about the song."
Funny.
So now I tell him, I said, "Marty, I don't want that anymore." He said, "Why not?" I said, "Well," he says, "the fans love it." I said, "Well, what about the fans that are coming to the game for the first time and I get my ass kicked and they're saying, what the fuck are they playing this song for this guy for? Can't get anybody out." But he said, "We'll run it till the end of the year."
Cool. So were you surprised that you were traded from Boston in New York in '72? Sox fans, and I've heard this from them, I lived in Red Soxville for 8 years. They basically think it's the worst trade in the
I know, isn't that something? That is, I know. It was, I just guess I didn't get along with the manager at that point in time. Boog Powell, I was very successful in Fenway Park, by the way, for left-handed. And Boog Powell hit a ball like one of them duck farts that nobody can get to, and it landed on the chalk line now in where there's only 4 feet of foul territory, and beat me. So the manager says, "You can't get left-handers out." And I said, "What fucking game are you watching?" and we had some words.
Mm-hmm.
Then he didn't pitch me for a couple times till he had to. And then when I went to spring training that year, Ralph Houck says, whatever you do, don't get hurt. Don't do anything to get hurt. I'll see you later.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh my God, I'm going to be a Yankee. And I was supposed to pitch. I think we had about 2 weeks to go in spring training, and I was supposed to pitch this day. I was very upset because they made me go the whole way to Orlando and back on the bus without pitching. Do you know how bad everybody hates those little trips that you got to take on Central Florida? It just sucks. And so I get over there, and I knew the trade had happened when, Verdon comes up to me and says, you mind pitching tomorrow? I got behind. I got to do this, got to do that. I said, nah, that's okay. I didn't want to talk to him anyhow. And so then when I got back, they told me I was traded to the Yankees, and I went over to the trailer to thank everybody. They wouldn't let me in. I think they thought I was coming in to scream at them or something. But I never did anything like that.
Right.
But I knock on it. I mean, I can see them in there.
Nobody would.
Yeah. I mean, that trade was the reason after Babe Ruth they don't do business for the longest time.
I know.
We're not having another.
I can't tell you how many times people told me that, how many times I saw it in the newspaper, how many times it's even referred to with my name there. And I mean, Danny Cater, I got to tell you, he was never going to be successful in Fenway Park because you got to pitch your hitters inside there, right-handed or left. You got to pitch inside. Well, that's how you got Danny Cater out. And the poor bastard, that's all he was going to see all day long. But they were figuring he'd be hitting balls right around the pesky pole down there and all that stuff.
Pesky pole. Said by it a bunch of times.
Danny Cater was part of the 64 Phillies, which my dad lived through and was always say, like, so when I see Danny Cater, when I hear that, and I knew you were that was the trade. So
Danny Cater, see you later.
So former Philly, and we love an old school person. John Vukovich played a large part in your life, and I'd just like you to talk about your relationship with him, and how it started. Your kind of
John Vukovich and I were friends for over 30 years, and it all started in opening day in Milwaukee, colder than hell. And I came in, and John Vukovich hit his first major league home run off me.
I was going to see if you knew that, because I was going to bring that up.
Because as he was going around the base, I said, who the fuck is that? we won the game, but I don't know, first, second pitch, whatever. I mean, that slider I could still see it. It just stayed right there and was yelling, hit me. And he hit the hell out of it. And so we became friends after that because, we would taunt each other about it. He taught me and I taught him. But I got the last laugh because he ended up moving about 3 blocks from me in Voorhees. And built this beautiful house. This is when he was third base coach. And he was making his trophy room. And so he called me one day. He says, everything's done. I want you to come over and see my room. And I want you to sign my wall. I said, well, thanks, John. I'll come over. So I came over, and boy, it was very nice. But I wrote real big on that wall. I am so proud to be among the 3 pitchers that contributed to your home run total for 22 years.
Oh, that's incredible.
He said, you just had to fucking do it.
One time. One more time.
But, yeah, he was. we just John was a man's man, and he'd come over to my house for dinner on Christmas and stuff, and his wife Bonnie, she'd always be all dressed up as everybody else would be, but John, I'd always get that call about an hour before everybody's supposed to be there. Hey, is it all right if I wear my boots? Yeah, you can wear your boots. Everybody be all dressed up. John comes in his jeans and his boots on lace, and I had these extra wide granite counters in that house. And it came, and there was like you could actually sit up on the counter. It was like, that's where he'd be all day long holding court. He was a beauty. He told me about what was the black kid's name that was shortstop or second baseman back in the day?
Jimmy Rollins?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When Jimmy Rollins came up and made the team and becoming a star and everything. I don't know if it was the first road trip or whenever, but anyhow, he's telling me, he says, there he is, sitting with that fucking do-rag on his head. I just whacked him right upside the head. Don't wear that do-rag anymore.
I don't remember seeing him with it.
No. Yeah, if John did something, I think you listen.
Yeah.
How about the car, like him selling or taking you to the car place to buy?
Well, that way, I mean, that's how I ended up there. I'm trying to buy a truck.
Mhm.
I just wanted a truck. Well, they all thought I was one of these millionaire baseball players. They didn't want to give me any deals or anything. And I said, don't you know a car dealer or something? Because I knew he got a new truck every year. And he says, yeah. And he says, let me give him a call. I'll let you know. Okay. So he tells me, he says, could you go up on Wednesday? Yep. Okay. I drive up to Flemington. And I meet Stephen Califer, what a guy he was. And I says, I told him I wanted to, I got all kinds of trucks here. I says, this is what I want. I want a maroon step-side truck, short bed, biggest engine I got. I'm telling him what I want. Well, I don't really have that, but I said, no. Let's order it. Because this is my one time to have a truck. And I don't even know if my wife's going to like it. And so we ordered it. It comes in. Well, in the meantime, he bought this franchise in the Atlantic League. They were starting the Atlantic League. The reason that I took this job is because they found out there's at least 300 athletes, pitchers, catchers, position, whatever, that get released every year because, and this is out of maybe rookie ball or whatever, and they just go home. They never play ball again because there isn't anywhere to play. Well, that Atlantic League, I don't even know how much you know about it.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, we got that thing going to the point that when the scouts started coming to see these guys play, number one, they already knew them. Number two, they knew if they were hitting 300, it was legitimate. It was a legitimate 300 because we had major league pitchers. Hell, there was a couple of years up, we had 8 or 9, didn't we? And so that day when I signed the papers for my truck, he says, and I got another contract. I want you to be the manager. I said, I never wanted to manage. He said, well, do you think you can do it? I said, hell, I don't know. I says, he said, I really need you to do this. I want a Yankee, I want you, He's going on and on. And I just says, all right, I'll give it a try. But I says, I don't want to hear any bullshit about all this. And the first thing I did, no more infield. Because I hated infield. and by the time I left, nobody took infield anymore, did they? Jeez, I thought that was the biggest waste of time.
Yeah.
You're hitting 50 balls to all these guys during during batting practice, and then you got to go in and change. You come back out and do all this over again. Nah, wasn't for me. But I made a lot of mistakes, but I got 5 flags hanging up there.
Yep.
And they wasn't by chance.
Yeah. We had a couple viewer questions. People
Okay.
want to know if in 1980, you got a ring.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
It was very nice. Oh, I even made sure that I let everybody know that I was very thankful for that. I didn't expect anything for that. I've been in those meetings before, where you got to decide if a guy gets something or not, and I think they're always very fair. And it depends on how long you've been there, and this and that. I was very thankful for them giving me a ring. I really was.
Okay. Yeah,
And my time there was, I had a good time there too, especially being with Tug. Him and I just couldn't get together in New York because when I was there, he was gone, blah, 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 all that. One day, old timers on the Mayor's Trophy game, Tug says, "Are you pitching today?" And I says, "Yeah." "Let's change uniforms." Sounds good.
All right.
So we're underneath the stands, standing in there with our shorts and cup on, about ready to put our pants on, and the phone rings, and the bullpen coach hollers, "Hey, Tug, Sparky, I just got a call, and they said, whatever you're doing, don't do it." He says, "Yeah, we better."
Put the Ixnay on that.
Were you in the dugout when the Phillies won in 80? Like, where were you?
No, I wouldn't. No, because I wasn't eligible.
Okay.
I wasn't there.
I didn't know if they would let you still.
No, I wasn't eligible, and the way things were there, at that time of the baseball and stuff, there wasn't any reason for me to be there. I'm just taking up space for no reason.
Tell us about the stolen base.
The stolen base was the most miraculous thing. And it wasn't that I wasn't a fast runner or anything like that, but I come in and get out of a jam, and we're playing St. Louis, in St. Louis, and Dallas Green says, "Hey, great job, blah, blah, blah," and the pitcher was first up. I'm thinking, well, okay. So when he tells me, "Great job, thanks," Pete Rose says, "What are you doing? Taking him out of the, you see the way he's throwing? You're going to take him out of the game." Dallas says, "Okay, you can hit." I'm going, "I can hit." It's been 12 years, whatever. And I said, I don't have a bat." Pete says, "Use my bat." Now, I'm not bullshitting you right now.
Huh.
And I don't have a helmet. And I didn't want to wear that thing he has, the thing that went inside the hat.
Yeah.
Somebody else gave me their bat and helmet. And Pete's going for the hit record. And he's getting closer and closer. And I got this bat. I'm thinking, holy hell, if I break this bat, this is not going to be good. Not only had I not hit for 12 years or whatever, and I wish I could remember who was pitching, but the son of a bitch throws me the only pitch that I could ever hit in and out, about right here inside. So I hit a BB between first and second. Made my turn,
like you've been there before.
Yeah. And Pete could put on signs if he wanted to. I mean, that's the deal he had with Dallas. Well, I'm taking my lead. Pete puts the freaking hit and run on, and I'm going, "Oh my God, did he? He just put the freaking hit and run on. Jesus Christ, what do I do? What do I do? I can't get picked off. I can't get picked off. All right, I'm going. Well, as soon as that pitcher made a move, I took off. Safe! Second base. But they said, don't think that you stole that base because it was a high throw. They had to jump to get it.
That's a stolen base.
Stolen base in the book.
That's a stolen
And
base.
then Suter in the bullpen took it and signed it and gave it to me.
Ah.
So
I'm
that's-
surprised after not batting, you would know what the hit and run sign is. I would feel like I would never even know.
Well, because they told me. And I would, we never did shit like that. But you're talking about Pete Rose here, Mr. Baseball. And Pete was loving shit like that, to do that stuff. Because he'd have been all over me if I'd have missed it, I can tell you.
What was your favorite home run for a team you were playing when you were in a game? Like, was there a certain moment?
The Chambliss home run in '76.
Okay.
Oh my God. I mean, we were just running around and getting up and walking. I mean, there wasn't enough things to do out there in the bullpen. There just wasn't enough things to do. He come up and, boy, you hit the hell out of that ball. And everybody, the most unlikely guy. I said, no, it wasn't the most unlikely guy. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he was.
Most unlikely guy would have been Fred Stanley, who actually hit the last Grand Slam home run in the old Yankee Stadium. Guess who the recipient of that was? Albert W. Long.
That's. Yeah, so this has been awesome. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
I
had
appreciate
so
it.
much fun. It's when I was younger, and the 80 through 82 was like the heyday of like when I first got into the Phillies. I can remember like my dad had a mustache, and I was just like, Dad, when can I get it? When can I get it? Like, fucking please. And he's like, maybe a little bit older, son. But
Yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
my pleasure.
hanging out with us
Thank
for
you.
a little
Thank
while.
you.
Absolutely.
Hey, this is
Thank
the
you
way
so much.
things should be. Seriously, it was so comfortable, and
we appreciate
I
it.
enjoyed it. Yeah, it got a little hot there
A
at
little
one
bit,
time, but it was okay.
But hey, everybody, we appreciate you, hanging in there. I know Facebook was a little bit on the fritz today, but we'll get that fixed. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Sparky, again for coming in. And
Thanks, everybody.
fuck the Mets, fuck Joe Carter, and we'll see you guys next time.